Tottenham Hotspur fans out there, yeah, you knew it was coming. We were coming to it, and we've come to that point. You're 8th in the Premier League. 57 points, 14 defeats in 37 games played, and you are a long way off Manchester City. Tottenham, you are a long way off Arsenal, a long way off Newcastle, a long way off Manchester United. There's a big gap these days between those clubs, and Tottenham fans, I think, are far from happy. So much so, Simon, that Tottenham ended their final home game, which ended in defeat to Brentford. Well done, Brentford. But defeat for Tottenham and a lap of honour for the Tottenham players in front of a practically empty stadium. I mean, I'll get Simon's taking it in a second, but Martin, that is, I would have thought, a moment that every player would dread. The moment that you want to thank the supporters for everything you've done for us this season, for constantly showing up to our showpiece stadium, and we have let you down. Just when we needed a win, we lose to Brentford. We've got to go back into the stadium, inside the bowels of the stadium, come out with our members of our family, and then take the lap of honour. You want to do that yesterday if you were the Brighton players, as I witnessed down at the Amex, but not as a Tottenham player. And it's all gone wrong. But having said that, should fans ever turn their backs on the lap of honour? Or is this just, I don't know, Martin, is it a North London geographical problem? Was it the fact that the fans have got to get out there to get home?
Well, we were arguing that about the Arsenal fans recently, so maybe that's why the producers put that on the script. But I think I think the end of the season, what we're looking at is maybe that the fans just, they stay behind, they congratulate their team. But I think the Spurs fans were just didn't feel they could do that. I mean, it was embarrassing. I was watching it on TV and I was waiting for the players. It took an age, by the way, for the players to come out. There wasn't that many people still there. But then I think it's right and proper, Jim, that you do walk that. It's like walking the plank, though, isn't it, when you don't win anything? And you feel that you've let the players, the club down. As a player, you do that. And then you start to look at Harry Kane and you feel, does this kind of make it now very obvious that he maybe should move on? What do you think? Do you know what's interesting, Jim? I was looking at the start of the season. I dug an article out. They had their best ever start to a season in their club history at the start of this year. You can't believe it, can you? Spurs. So they fell away. Did they bottle it? I don't hear anyone saying that they bottled it, but it fell away unbelievably. I think when Conte was allowed to leave the football club, I know that Simon feels that it was untenable.
Here it comes.
But I wouldn't have picked up the phone. I'd just make him finish the job off. Look how much worse they got when he left.
How are you going to do that then, Martin?
Because he's contracted to work at the football club.
But how are you going to do it, really? It's wonderful you guys trot out these platitudes. Somebody turns around and says everything. And by the way, about bottling it, I don't think you can get a more definitive analysis of Tottenham than the manager gave. The manager himself turned around and said that they pretty much were a selfish bunch of individuals that are used to winning nothing. I don't think you could get a more condemnatory set of observations than the one that were put forward by the guy that was walking out the door. I'd like you to explain.
Well, he was saying he was a winner.
I'd like you to explain to me how you would own a football club when a guy walks in there and effectively tells you, in no uncertain terms, he wants not to be here anymore. He wants nothing more to do with it. He thinks the entire place is a waste of time.
So you know that. So you're privy to.
Did you not listen to his press
Daniel
conference?
Levy then has your ear, has told you.
Conte
did you not listen? Left.
Did you not listen to it?
Tell us again.
Did you not listen
Tell us again then.
Did you not listen to his press conference? Did you not listen to what he said? So then, did you not
I have
hear
it word
then?
for word.
Yeah, but come on, Martin. Right. How would you get Conte to stay when he's hell-bent getting out of there?
He's contracted to do the job. Finish the job off. He's a winner. Do the job. Now, he wasn't, obviously, Daniel Levy felt that he was starting to bring me into the conversation by saying, look, the owner is used to not having success. Look, when you look at the body of work and you look at what he's done, built the stadium, the training ground, and where they were in terms of getting Daniel Levy, he's not done the job you'd have expected in that time, Jim. But it's not been all bad in terms of where they were. Where were they? Mid-table, 7th, 8th. Suddenly they're in the Champions League. No, he's got them into the Champions League successively. Now that hasn't happened. He can't go to the next level. He can't do it. So he needs to find a solution now.
What is the next level? Because they've got just out of curiosity in your mind,
is to actually be fighting.
They've got
the
the
Premier League.
6th biggest wage bill in the division. They've got the 6th biggest income, right? And they spend the 5th amount on transfers. So normally, what happens with that kind of thing is, as a rule, over a period of time, that's where you finish. Now, what they did for a period of time was they punched probably above their weight when Pochettino got the side going. Got them to be 2nd or 3rd in the league a couple of times, got them to a Champions League final, got them to FA Cup semi-finals, and they didn't win anything at that particular time.
Yeah, but how have Newcastle done it? How
Newcastle, that's one moment in time. Tottenham finished 2nd. You're talking about one season. So let's have a look at this. Let's look in 3 years' time and see what the body of work for Newcastle is. I'm not defending Daniel, but when you make silly comments about the idea that you can convince somebody, if somebody wants to leave,
I think Conte was going.
The worst thing
that was it.
Anyone that's ever managed anything will tell you, whether it's successful or unsuccessful, if you make someone stay that doesn't want to stay, you're going to get a worse outcome than the one you've already got. You're going to get carnage, you're going to get more mayhem, and you're going to get more disruption. So with that in mind, Conte's behaviour, what Conte should have done if he was the consummate winner that you say he is, he should have stayed. His contract was expiring in the end of the summer. All he had to do was suck it up, pick up his other £3.5 million, do his job, and then leave. And then he can tell everybody once he's left what he thought of it.
Yeah,
he didn't want to.
Until we hear from him, we assume
we heard from him.
We assume that he was sacked. He didn't have that choice.
Well, it's silly, isn't it? It's a silly analysis, isn't it? You're speaking as a player. You're not speaking as somebody that's ever hired
I'm trying to
somebody.
defend it. I think Conte was a very good manager.
But having said all that, does Levy honestly think, Simon, in the final programme notes of the season, that any Tottenham fan on the way out, sitting in the train or on the bus or in the taxi or whatever the hell, on his way home, he or she is going to look at the programme thinking, yeah, that's fair enough from Daniel.
What do you want him to say then? This
has been an immensely difficult season. Yeah, it sure has. Your frustration has been understandable, and all of us at the club have shared it.
Yep.
Okay. We've undertaken a thorough and rigorous review of our footballing operations. Scott Munn joins us in the summer as our new Chief Football Officer, and we look forward to sharing further news with you post-season. What kind of news will that be? We don't have a director, but Paratici's gone and Conte went. Yeah, we shall spend the period ahead of next season working relentlessly to position our club for on-pitch success in football that you will love to come and watch.
So this is the tone.
Every element of the club's operations
this is the tone that you're talking about, Martin, the ridiculing tone, right? Because if Daniel...
I'm not ridiculing him.
Well, you are. You're saying...
Why is it necessary?
Well, what else would he do then? If he didn't write programme notes, people like you would be sitting there saying, why isn't he writing programme notes?
But Samuel, with all due respect, this is stating the bleeding obvious, as you would say. The fans don't really want to hear that. We'll spend the period of next year working relentlessly to position our club for on-pitch success in the football you will love to come and watch.
Okay, again...
you've changed it now. That's not quite so radical now because your voice has changed.
Mr. Chairman, how are you going to do that?
I'm going to employ a director of football and a manager. I just think I'm going to bleed and we'll do it. I'll tell you what I'll do it on Jim White's time. Jim, I need to keep you informed, right? Because if I don't meet the media's expectation, it's going to be a problem.
When you look towards Jim,
but that might not be enough to achieve it.
When you look towards the Harry Kane situation, and you think in the past, whenever he signed a major contract, it's been a Mourinho that's come to the club. There's been a Conte that's come to, and you could see a reason, some chink of light for Harry to sign. There's no manager. Well, where is the manager? Where is the new manager? Doesn't seem to be a plan in place. It now feels the right time for Harry Kane, as much as it's going to hurt him because it's his beloved club. He loves the club. He's still managed to score 28 goals somehow this season. I do feel it's now time for him to leave.
It's interesting that the fans didn't, because normally what you do is the fans put you in a sort of cleft position because everyone's culpable. Let's not be blind to this.
I agree with that.
The manager's culpable, the chairman is culpable, and the players are culpable. What normally happens is the players get a pass. So the players get to parade around the stadium whilst the fans are cheering them, and the guy up in the stands gets booed, which is the consequence of that position. It's quite refreshing to see that the fans are not having any of it. We're not going to sit there while you do some ridiculous parade around the stadium because you've let us down all season. So everybody's in the cart for that particular one. Whether Harry Kane leaves or not is a discussion. Tottenham Hotspur will survive without Harry Kane. It survived before Harry Kane came along. It'll survive after Harry Kane's gone.
True,
the last time it won a trophy, it didn't have Harry Kane in its side. So with that in mind,
would you let him go if you were the owner?
I don't think they want to let him go, and I think there's a sentiment that he's not going to go. And I mean, ultimately, he's talked in such a fashion that it would be difficult for him to go because he's talked about the culture of the football club and the sentiments that he feels are important for the football club to develop. Now, why would you be speaking in that fashion? I listened to some inane rabbling from Tim Sherwood the other day about how he's going to be let go on a free because that's what's going to happen in a year's time because that's how Daniel Levy works, doesn't he? He lets people go for nothing. If you know nothing about Daniel, you know that doesn't happen. So one or two things are going to happen this summer. Harry Kane's going to sign a new contract or Harry Kane's going to be sold. Either one of them, I wouldn't be surprised by. I do believe that Tottenham will get better. I do believe that they'll get a coach in, whether it's Arne Slot or someone of that nature. Paratici, it makes you wonder why they took him in the first place because there was a suspension hanging over his head, and always going to be that. Yeah. And I do think that they've been really, really poor in handling the situation. But so have Chelsea. They've both sat there peeing about towards the end of the season.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it right from Tottenham.
And Ryan Mason, by the way, should still put the kettle on. Because he's got 4 points out of 5 games, like I said.
Ryan, if you're listening this lunchtime, I apologise. That's all you needed to hear, wasn't it? Back to the drawing board for Tottenham, for sure.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.